Hello, and welcome back to The Peer Perspective, a student-led mental health podcast focusing on mental health in high school. Today, we will be talking about extracurriculars like sports, clubs, theater, and jobs, and what effect they have on the mental health of a high school student.
A great way that I earn money while managing my own hours is babysitting. I babysit for several families around Madison and the surrounding towns. Before I started babysitting, I took a Red Cross babysitting class and got certified in CPR for both adults and infants. This is usually a big comfort to the families that I sit for. Since my schedule changes so much throughout the school year, it can be hard to plan months in advance, so creating a loose, year-round schedule with the families I sit for allows me to block off times I'm available for them.
During the middle of my current junior year, I was able to find a job nearby at a dessert spot where I could work with people my age and do something that I enjoy. What I didn't realize is how much time it would take away from my schoolwork and social life. I would feel left out of activities and get major FOMO every time I worked on a Saturday night. After a couple weeks of work, I realized that the money I earned was important to me and saving for college. I also met so many new people and learned tons of new things.
Along with school, I'm also involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. I'm president of the Red Cross Club, a member of jazz chorus, and I also did track my freshman to junior year, and the musical my senior year. Being involved in so much can be stressful and hard to manage my schedule so that nothing overlaps. But after communicating with my teachers and coaches about my schedule and with their help, accommodations were made so I can participate in all of the extracurriculars I want to be involved in.
Being an athlete in each sports season, I begin to feel pressures from my coaches and teammates to perform well. I used to get anxious whenever I was yelled at by a coach, but I turned that stress and anxiety into a learning experience. The winter before my spring softball season, I trained hard with hitting coaches and trainers, looking to improve for myself and for the team. It gave me an extra confidence boost that I surely needed going into my second to last year of playing high school sports.
I was involved in sports and babysitting all throughout high school except my senior year. When I did volleyball in the fall, I struggled juggling a social life and homework when we had games, especially when they were in different towns. I've been involved in cross-country, golf, and volleyball, but what has taken up most of my time throughout high school has been the spring musical, which I've been a part of from my sophomore to my senior year. Around January, rehearsals really start to pick up and run late, and during the last 2 or 3 weeks before the show, almost all of the cast is at rehearsals from 8 to 9:30 every night. This end period usually causes me the most stress when needing to complete homework, study, and I tend to have minimal time with friends. Mostly on my off seasons, I would babysit and have a lot more time for friends and studying. I'm also part of jazz chorus, which doesn't interfere because it is only once a week for an hour. Throughout my years in high school, I've realized that I do not want to participate in sports or activities that I wasn't very passionate about because of such a big time commitment they are.
Here to talk with us today about managing your schedule and balancing sports and schoolwork is Mr. Scheifler, the assistant principal for athletics.
Do you think students commonly struggle dealing with schoolwork and school sports at the same time?
The short answer to that is yes. Run into students, or do hear students quite often, to a degree, not terribly, but there are certain students that, do struggle with it. Would I say that it's a majority of students? No, but it's enough, there's enough concern or enough kids talking about it that, it is something that we should look into and, certainly give them the support that they need, so it doesn't manifest and become a problem.
And what is one thing you think students doubt about themselves when it comes to trying out for something new, like a sport or like anything else?
Unfortunately, there is that element of students who don't think they're good enough, worthy enough, or they're up to the task. It is unfortunate. What I would say to those students is, do your best to put that aside and try new things. Don't be afraid of failure. I quite often say to young people, sometimes you learn more when you fail rather than when you succeed. And I think that's an important lesson, not only at the high school level age, but going forward into your adult life. You're not going to be successful in everything you do all the time. Of course, we want you to be successful as much as possible, but when you're not, don't let that hold you back from continuing to move forward and continue to, pick up new challenges. Do your best. I would hate to see somebody fail at something and just give up entirely and never go back to it, or never, seek to look for a new challenge.
Of course.
So do you think that the desire to pursue a sport lessens in a student throughout high school, considering workloads and jobs, and how do you think that teachers and coaches have to combat that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there is that, sometimes we call it attrition, right? You might have 25 kids go out for a freshman team, in a particular sport, but by the time they're seniors, that same 25 kids, maybe there's a third. I've identified over the years at least a half a dozen reasons why students don't continue to play. And yes, one of the reasons is that they do get caught up, and not in a bad way, but they get caught up in their studies, and they're a junior or senior and they're looking to go to college and they want to do have the best grades possible. Something's got to give. And lots of times that's athletics, which is unfortunate, because I feel that athletics, especially for that student who demands a lot from themselves academically, sports is a nice outlet, right? It's something that they can do where they can compete, they can have fun, they can be with their friends, and kind of takes them away from the daily stresses. Like I said, there's other reasons why students, besides sports, some students just have to go to work, unfortunately, in their families. Some students have to go home after school and take care of a younger sibling. That's another reason. Some students unfortunately get burned out, whether it's pressures from family members to go and continue to play sport. There's a variety of reasons why that happens, but yes, we'd be kidding ourselves if we said that academics is not one of those factors. There are ways to combat that, but it comes down to time management and your own personal discipline.
Yeah. What's something you could tell a student who may be struggling and enjoying a sport they once used to love playing?
Yeah, we find that not too often, but we do find that, and that's certainly unfortunate. We want kids to play as much as possible, and I would say, go back to, reflect on yourself, why you played that sport in the first place. What did you love about it? Did you love the fact that you were friends? Did you love the fact that you were competing? Or did you love the fact that you were just out being active? Really try and get back to the root of that. And what I sometimes remind young people is that this is your only opportunity to do that, right? So, take for example this year. This year we identified just under 600 students in this high school played at least one sport, which is a phenomenal number. That's about 74% of the students play at least one sport. Almost 600 by 4, you come up with roughly 150. So you say roughly 150 kids in each class, freshman through senior, play sports. Well, in the senior class, upon graduation, we have maybe 15 to maybe 20 of those 150 student athletes go on to play a sport at the next level.
Yeah.
This is the only time you'll be able to play that organized sport. Mm-hmm. So do your best to find that love, get back to it, talk to a coach, talk to a friend, talk to your parents, talk to someone you trust, and really find those foundational principles of why you were involved in it to begin with, and try to get back to that, because this is really the only time you're going to have that opportunity, and we want you to have that that positive memory.
Yeah. All right, that's all we have for you.
Thank you.
Today.
That's all from us at The Peer Perspective. Thank you for listening and supporting us. We hope this episode helped you feel less alone in managing high school extracurriculars. So this is our final episode, so a really big thank you again for tuning in with us. Thank you!